In this week's Parsha, Parshas Va'era, we find a very interesting Medrash Rabbah. The Medrash regarding Makas Tzfardeya, where Moshe Rabbeinu tells Parai that if you don't let the Eden out, the Eibishter will send frogs to cover the land of Mitzrayim. So the Medrash says, this is the meaning of the Pasuk, V'yisrein Eretz Ba'kolhi, which is explained, the Medrash explains that the Eibishter, everything is in the creation, has a purpose. And the Medrash there quotes, it says, Rabbi Seinu Amrin, that the Rabbi Seinu say that if you think there are extra things, like certain insects, Yitushin, etc., mosquitoes, etc., don't think that they're extra, they really have a purpose. That's the meaning of the Pasuk. Ba'kolhi, the Eibishter has everything that's being used. Rav Acha afterwards comes and says, similar idea. Rav Acha says, if you think that the Nechoshim and Akrabim are extra, the snakes and scorpions are extra, no, they're not. They also have a purpose. They're part of creation. And Rav Acha adds that the Eibishter is saying to the Nevi'im, you think that if you're not going to do my shlichus, I won't have what to do my shlichus with. I have Nechoshim and Akrabim, and even Tzvardeya, and even frogs I have what to do with. And he finishes off that this is what the purpose of the frog was, because otherwise, if not for our frogs, how would we be able to punish the Mitzrayim in Mitzrayim? We wouldn't be able to punish the Mitzrayim. So obviously, even Tzvardeya has a purpose. So the obvious questions are, number one, how could we say that the Eibishter is limited in the shluchim that he has? Only Tzvardeya can punish Mitzrayim? Even more so, weren't there other ways that the Eibishter punished the Mitzrayim before and after the Tzvardeya? So how could we limit the Eibishter to Dafka Tzvardeya has to be there in order to punish the Mitzrayim? And lastly, what exactly is the machlokes or difference between the Rabbi Seinu and what Rav Acha is saying? They seem to be saying the same thing. So the Rebbe explains that the chiddush of Rav Acha above what Rabbi Seinu are saying is in the fact that Rabbi Seinu were bringing examples of insects, etc., that don't seem to have any purpose, as opposed to Rav Acha was bringing examples of things that are mazikin. They actually do damage, like nechoshim and akravim. So Rav Acha is actually adding on and saying that that not only are the things that just seem like they have no matara, do they really have a matara? But in addition, even things that seem to be that they're negative, they're the opposite of the matara, they also have a purpose in creation. They're also going to be used. However, that leads us to the next question is, why would Tzvardeya be part of what Rav Acha is being mechadish? Tzvardeya are not dvarim hamazikin. Frogs are not typically a mazik. So why would Rav Acha be mechadish to us about mazikin and then say, even frogs, even Tzvardeya is going to be included in a purpose of creation? This seemingly doesn't fit within the framework of what Rav Acha is being mechadish. So the Rebbe explains that when it comes to Umas Ha'olam and the way they view the Eibishter, there's three different categories. You have someone like Bilam, who knows that the Eibishter is Elakad Elakayon, is above all and controls everything, and everything comes from him, but the Eibishter gave powers to others as well. And that's where they view the Eibishter somewhat separated, although is very much the one on top. Then you have something like Parai, which is Li Ya'eri Vani Asisini, that the Parai feels that he made himself, and he is something that came into being in existence on its own. Nevertheless, Elakad Elakaya still is attributing the Eibishter as a even more powerful being, although a separate being, but an even more powerful being. And lastly, you have Umas Ha'olam that are similar to Sancherev, which is there's no Eibishter, and is shoylo the whole idea that there is an Eibishter. The Rebbe explains that the last one, which seems to be the furthest away, the lowest level, actually has an advantage over the second one. The advantage is because Sancherev, at the end of the day, is giving some sort of credit, is putting in the same sentence, although in a negative way, the Metzias of the Eibishter. It's saying there is an Eibishter, but it wants to get out of it and say, no, really there is no Eibishter. So it has to be Shoylol, the Metzias of the Eibishter. Similar to the first one, where the Elakad Elakad, there is an Eibishter. As opposed to Parai and Mitzrayim, that Klippa is saying that Li Ya'er Vani Asisini and I'm my own existence, without discussing or having anything to do with the Eibishter, without having anything to do with the Eibishter that's greater. So the Rebbe explains that this is really what's going on with Rav Acha is being mechadish. Rabbi Seinu was saying that everything which doesn't necessarily seem to have a matara really does have a matara. That's similar to the first way, where the Eibishter is really, the Eibishter created this to bring out the fact that no, there is a purpose. You can tell that there's an Eibishter. When it comes to Dvarim Hamazikin, those also are things that are in the negative. They seem to be going against any matara. They're damaging. But it's similar to this idea of Sancherev, where there's no Eibishter. We're denying the Eibishter. But it's in the same sentence. We're saying the word Eibishter in the same sentence. As opposed to Tzvardeya, which Rabbi Achal brings in the end. Tzvardeya is something which is not a davar mazik, but it also doesn't fall into the same category as those other insects, which you do find some sort of purpose with them. So there's somewhere in the middle where we don't see any purpose in the Tzvardeya, and it seems like it's something which is there, nothing to do with the Eibishter. That's Rav Achas Chiddush. That how are we going to be able to take away the klipa of Mitzrayim if not for using Tzvardeya? That once the Tzvardeya were sent into Mitzrayim and they followed the Eibishter's instructions in a point of Mesiras Nefesh from their part, that was able to bring out that even those things that seem to have zero matara, zero connection to the Eibishter, they too are also bringing out how there really is an Eibishter, which is battling the klipa of Mitzrayim.